People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, obviously I was under the weather and I just about got the Burnley reviews and player rating and review out the way, so I haven't really had a chance to do this over the weekend, but I've come across some Arteta comments before the Burnley game. How valid they still are after the game, I'm not too sure, but yeah, people, it's just talking points really. Give me a second because they're too big right now. In fact, let's start off with the transfer thing, basically what I saw. Again, I don't know the truth in this, but apparently Besiktas' new manager, Selçuk Yalçın, forgive me my Turkish subscribers and followers, you know I can barely pronounce English names and words, let alone that. So any pronunciations, terminologies, I mean no malice and disrespect by it. But the Besiktas' new manager, apparently he doesn't want El Nene to remain at the club beyond this season. You were seeing language come out under the previous manager that while he was, I'd say his time there's been a bit mixed, they were open to making the move permanent. While he's been there, you see him linked with AC Milan for whatever reason all the time. But we've got a difficult decision to make over players that are on loan. I say difficult, but you look at El Nene, you look at El Nene, you look at who else is there? There's El Nene, Mkhitaryan. The contracts of Aubameyang and Lacazette need to be sorted. I'll throw Kolasinac in there because I know Arteta's spoken about 3 men fighting for one position, but his wages, if you've got Saka who can do that, if you've got Cedric who could fill in there if need be, even Maitland-Niles and Tierney when fit, the clear first choice, could that be someone that's moved on to raise money? Obviously the Mesut Ozil case, I don't want to go too left and right with this vid, but there's a lot of decisions to be made in regards to what we can do next season with the playing staff. El Nene is one of them, because if they're not going to take him permanently, we need to move man on. Apparently he doesn't want him to stay, he doesn't want him to stay here, doesn't want to keep him essentially, and they're looking at alternatives. And they don't want to pay the 18 million euros, so that's his one up for debate, people. It's a bit irrelevant, but ex-Arsenal midfielder Marcus McGain, he's obviously come back to England now after being in Holland with Telstar on loan. He's obviously done his time at Barcelona, made his debut, but it was always going to be tough there. Apparently he's going to join Nottingham Forest, or has joined them already, people. He made 14 appearances in the second division in Holland this season at Telstar, where he played with his good friend, former midfielder, and a midfielder I like a lot, Charlie Gilmore. He obviously scored 1 goal. We all remember he played in the Europa League games for us against Bate and Red Star before departing, and he also made his debut for Barcelona. So he's had quite the career and quite the experience now, and he's probably at that age now, he's 20 or so, where he needs to settle down his roots and things. Now all the articles and stuff I read, they say initially he's going to be in the under-23 setup at Forest, but before too long he's probably going to progress. How valid these things are, I don't know, but I think he's somewhere now where he needs to settle roots. He showed great courage to join Barcelona. Forget joining Barcelona. As a young 17, 18-year-old, to move out your girlfriend to a new apartment, new language, all of these things, great bravery. End of the day, he's trained with world-class coaches, world-class players, and Messi. Even training with Messi, something to tell your grandkids. Grandkids won't even believe you. He's made his debut. So that, on the hand for Barca, so on the face of it, yeah, he was never going to break in. It was always a tough thing. But he's taken experiences from them, and there's probably little drills and cultural differences he's learnt there that will help him when he comes back to the game or whatnot. And obviously, he's lived in Holland and Spain as well as England in his short career. He's shown he's adaptable. So that you never know where your football career, especially with these young English players going everywhere, you never know where your career might take you. He's shown actually he can play at right back as well at times, as well as midfield and whatnot. His coaches at Barcelona said he was both technically and physically strong, had a good first touch, and could use both feet. And these are the things that you heard at Arsenal. So if he can marry the education of Barca and Arsenal and the experience he's got from playing senior football this year, he's making inroads. Hopefully he's playing in Forest's first team and whatnot straight away. But Forest have a number of decent young players, both in their own academy, the cusp of the first team, and in the first team, people. Obviously, Forest is a big club with a rich fan base, so the expectation on him to do well is there's enough reason to want to succeed there. And obviously, if you can establish yourself in midfield, in the Championship, you never know who's watching you. Obviously, it was sad for me to see him leave Arsenal, but I support all these young players leaving the club because they've got to do what's good for them. Because at a time, you had him, McGain, you had Gilmore, you had Willock, you had Emil, you had Crowley, you had Dragomir. If I haven't said Josh already, you had a bag of players already, especially midfielders. For us, it's great, especially if some could have been sold on for profit and things. But for them, it's a melting pot. Look at it, Joe Willock. Out of all these players and stuff that we've been over the years saying they're good players and whatnot, and they are. One Joe Willock has made it. I'm not critiquing the club because even one player is a miracle, and Joe's gone on to do stuff. But do you see how tough it can be? So these players have to do things. And if I was him, would I regret leaving Arsenal when I did? No. Because everybody that's left's made some progress, people. Dragomir's playing in the second division in Italy. Kalen Hines, I believe, has gone out on loan from Watford. Ismail Benassia, probably the biggest success of it in terms of leaving. Crowley's doing his thing at Birmingham, finally finding his feet. So it is what it is in that regards, people. Moving away from that, we went slightly off topic, people, there. And I apologise for that. My apologies. Maitland-Niles. Now, I think Maitland-Niles is at that time in his career now, people, where he has to be selfish. It's difficult. For a fan and a manager's point of view, it's lovely to have a player that can fill in that left back, right back, can technically play right wing. Not well, in my opinion, but play right wing. He's a midfielder by trade. You need a utility man in your side. Or if I'm a coach, I want a utility man in my side, people. That's the truth. Like, they're a luxury to have in your team. But at the same time, Maitland-Niles needs to ask himself, one, do you feature in Arteta's plans honestly? Because he's not, like Holding, really, it's another game where he's not in the matchday squad. He's a master. You could say that, to be honest, I think he could still be a right back, whether he's seen as that or not. He's played better there, but he needs to be honest with himself. If he didn't play fullback at Arsenal, how many career appearances in the Prem would you have? He might not be the finished article, but he's probably a dramatically better player now than when he first got introduced to senior football at Ipswich or whatever, because he's playing on a regular basis in the Prem. If he didn't do up that right back thing, would you be there? Wan-Bissaka, if he didn't jump right back, would he be playing for Palace and then now one of the biggest clubs in the world in United? You've got to do things, people. But he's at that time now, 22. This season he stays, but he's got to be selfish. He's got to go somewhere where he can, there's some stability, where he has an honest chance of playing on a regular basis. Because I believe in him, but if you're naming your best Arsenal team, you could say current form, he might get ahead of Bellerin at right back, but he's not in it. He's not involved in the match days. He's 22, jack of all trades, master of none. He needs to be selfish. Either go on loan temporarily or leave where you can establish yourself. You've got to be selfish, people. Arteta's spoken highly of him, and rightly so. He said, he has got good speed, technically gifted, and he's a good passer of the ball. But as well, he can play as an attacking midfielder because he's a threat with his runs. And that's true. You've seen him mainly do that for England at youth level. And I don't know. It's because I know he plays Joel Willock in that 10 role for the runs in behind and whatnot. Maitland, I guess he could do that. He's also said as well, he's a very useful player with great speed, technically gifted, a good passer on the ball. He can play as an attacking midfielder because he's a threat every time with his runs, and he can play as a holding midfielder because he's played there a lot in his career. Now, if there's an opportunity for you to play as a holding mid Maitland-Niles or a ball-winning midfielder, I think you've got that in you. You've got to seize that. You've got to show Arteta, I can do this if Torreira's not there. Because right now, if Torreira's not in that midfield, it's a bit of a calamity. Guendouzi and Xhaka, it's okay, but it's not the best. Guendouzi and Torreira, it's okay, but it's not the best. Xhaka and Torreira might not be the best pivot, but it's the dramatically best option we have, and they're the two guys. Maitland's got to look at it, he's like, alright, cool, Guendouzi's third choice, yeah? Saying that, am I not going to take that? Or let me be the DM. You could play me and Torreira and one of these, man. You could take off Torreira for me. So if he does see you as that, then you've got to seize that. You've got to show him in training, yo, I'm a better Cam than Joe. Why are you, Lomberg and Emre, using him and Fred instead of man? DM thing, it's man. You know what I'm saying? Obviously on the football field, concentration. I love that he's cool on the ball, but he's got to be switched on, especially in midfield. So it's lovely to hear these things, but again, you're saying all these things, but you're not in the matchday squad, and sometimes you are, sometimes you're not. You've got to go somewhere where you can certify yourself. Moving away from that, people, he said, I think he can play various positions. He can do very well at fullback as well. The way I like fullbacks to behave, sometimes to play more inside as a midfielder, he's a very useful player. And that's true, because you have seen Maitland-Niles doing up. What game was it? I made a review on it and we all spoke about it. One of Arteta's first games, Maitland-Niles was basically a centre mid off the ball. So again, there's plenty of reasons to stay, but you've got to be very selfish and really critique yourself over this panel, because Maitland is at that point with all young players. You come through, you're loved, but then you need to seize it. Iwobi went through it, and ultimately Iwobi had to leave because, yeah, he was a regular player, but he didn't seize his opportunity and go on to become a regular, like a proper, obviously he was playing on a regular basis, but that stand-up dude for us. You've got to seize it. You don't want to be what I call purgatory, where you're involved but you're not. You're in a crossroads. Cup games come, you might play, but you're at a crossroads. And he came off the bench against Bournemouth. He wasn't involved in any capacity in the last game. He's got to play his position. I honestly think his time will come, but he's got to ask himself everything. Arteta on that note also said as well, this club needs competition, 2 or 3 players in each position to fight. We have necessities in certain areas, playing some players in positions that aren't really their positions. With time, I'd like to have specialists for every position to do exactly what we want to do. So he said he'd like 3 men to fight for every position, more or less 2 to 3. We've got 3 left backs essentially. Saka's almost, he's a stopgap there. He can do it, but we don't really want him there. Kolasinac and Tierney obviously there. Right back, you've got Cedric, you've got Bellerin, you've got Maitland-Niles. Maitland and Cedric can actually be used at left back. So we need specialists, but there's also things for him to play with and whatnot. And he's also there is something to be said there, man, because that gives you hope. It would give me concern in that you face the risk of being marginalised if I'm Maitland-Niles, but it gives me hope in that my time will come, really. And also he said, players are going to start games if they deserve to play and perform at the level of this football club, whether they are academy players or not. Saka and Martinelli. I know Martinelli was bought, but you get the point. If they're able to fight and compete and they are better than the other ones, they will play. If not, someone else will play. So it's about just simply, doing your thing and showing that you can do this for the club. On Cedric, who didn't play against Burnley, and that's the only game he's expected to miss allegedly, he said he's a player who's got a big experience. He's played in different countries. He's played in this league. He knows what it means. I followed him a few seasons ago. I started to follow him, and I really like what he can bring. I'm happy for 2 reasons. We believe that we could strengthen the team a little bit in some areas with the financial situation that we have, but as well, 4 weeks ago, I was very concerned with some of the possible departures, and we've been able to manage that so far. Maybe a lot of that was, I can only think Xhaka, because Xhaka's the only departure I can see that affects his plans. Beyond, again, Mustafi leaving is not the biggest, but, we're struggling at centre-half, but it was Xhaka. Xhaka's quite rightly reflected his faith that he's been shown by his gaffer, but I can only see Xhaka leaving as the one that really affected his plans and whatnot. So I'd say he's really happy about that, and we all have to be, because Xhaka's been doing his thing. In terms of Pablo Mari, another one who weren't involved, and depending on who you are, it's cause for concern or cause for fight, because Socrates, him and Luis are first choices right now. Mari, is he going to be a squad player? Is he potentially going to be used more than we think? I believe the latter, because I haven't seen too much of him beyond the highlights, so I don't know his level. But the way Arteta's been speaking, he might play on a regular basis. Obviously, if you're holding, you've got to step it up, because you're not involved right now in any capacity. Mustafi, again, many people, myself included, don't really believe in your capabilities, and you still have made mistakes this season, but based on the last game and generally, you've been alright. So there's competition for places, so it's cause for concern or cause to stand up and fight, really. He's on Mari, he said, he balances what I want to do from the back line. He gives me more options, more solutions. He opens up the pitch more. Again, he's a player that we've been following for the last few months. We are really happy to have him. So again, the options and solutions could mean depth and stuff. We really ambiguous in terms of how regular he plans to use him. But for me, it kind of implies that this guy, when he's up to speed or whatever, if he ticks certain boxes Arteta wants to see in training, that he's going to be used on a regular basis based on what I've seen, because he's spoken of the back line. Now, Arteta and Pep are not the same people, but the importance of playing out from the back is very important, or having a reason. And he says he gives him that. And obviously you hear he's able to play a high line. So this seems very much a defender that Arteta wants. If not necessarily the name and the man in particular, just in terms of the criteria. So is he going to partner him and Luis? I don't know. Again, he's played a couple of months in Portugal. So he probably got some Spanish, some level of Portuguese to him. I don't know if Luis speaks Spanish. But it's easy to tell how these two could, they could be used together and whatnot. Obviously, it would mean Luis could go back to his favoured right-hand side of the centre-half pairing. This guy on the left. Both good ball players, allegedly. Both can play a high line. It gives the balance. And then you've obviously got Socrates, who's probably the most old-school defender of the current options. Mustafi is Mustafi in the sense of he should really be our best defender. We've been down this road, but he's mistake-ridden. But he's been putting in some confident displays and he's fairly aggressive. It sucks about Chambers because I would have loved to have seen Chambers in the mix because I think he stood up to be counted this season. Holding, I'm a big fan of Holding, but he needs to buck up his ideas and really start kicking on. Yes, he's had the injury and maybe that's why he's not been involved in the matchday squads. And we still need another centre-half. And that's even without talking about Mavropanos out there on loan, any academy prospects. You could argue there's a case to be said over quality over quantity, and I'm not to play devil's advocate. Would you say is necessarily quality or quantity? I'm going to leave that one with you guys, really. So yeah, I don't think I've got anything more to add, people. So I'm not even going to waste too much of your time, and I don't think I've got anything more to add. So I'm going to get out of here. All I'd like to say though is, people, as I approach almost 20,000 subscribers, which is a goal of mine before the end of the season, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Without you lot, it's physically impossible. And you lot have supported me everything, whether I've been out there making vids in the rain, snow, darkness, sick like I am now. You lot have resonated that commitment. And if it wasn't for you lot's support and things, why the hell would I be here making vids still? Because no one would want to hear it. So, DG Nation, whoever you are, wherever you are, however long you've been watching my vids or however you watch my vids in terms of frequency, it's appreciated. On that note, let me not waste any more of your time. Big up, God bless, DG, I'm out. Bang.